So far we have already tracked two different types of things inside of App Center: crashes and errors. And crashes, we saw it first happen with this generate test crash method that is provided by the crashes class that comes with the crashes namespace. But it was also tracked when we weren't catching this exception that we are throwing from the login page. And at first it didn't show, and it even made me question my sanity because I knew this should have been tracked, but it wasn't there for a second. But we eventually saw that it was indeed tracked as a crash. An error that wasn't tracked, that wasn't caught, and that made the application just be closed suddenly. Eventually, when we added this try catch block and we were tracking this as an error, we saw it appear slightly different inside of the App Center portal. So we suddenly have two different types of crashes and one type of error. What we are going to do in this lecture is see exactly how I said that we're going to be able to track more information about the error. Because we noticed that track error is actually able to receive a dictionary of strings called properties. So in here, I am actually going to be passing properties. And that properties is also going to be a dictionary of strings, and it's again going to be a dictionary of string. Both the key and the value are going to be strings. And this is going to be called properties. But this is actually going to be optional. So I am going to be initializing it to null in case nothing is passed. And by the way, I actually have to do dictionary in here. So let me add the using directive to system.collections.generic and remove this one. So anyway, I was saying that this is going to be optional. So I'm going to be assigning it to null. In case nothing is passed, it is always going to have some value. By default, null. Only in case we do pass something, is this properties value going to have something else. So where are we going to be receiving all of those properties? Well, that is going to happen from the login page, where we are catching this exception. In here, I can create a new dictionary. I'm going to be setting this as a dictionary of strings. That is going to be properties or just key value pairs. And it's going to be equal to a new dictionary of strings. And of course, it can receive many different values. And these are going to be key value pairs of strings. So we will have something like this. What will these strings have? Well, that is entirely up to us. For example, one of them can be whether there was any signal available. Let's say that the signal was strong. And by signal here, I just mean cellular, whether it was strong or weak or non-existent maybe. And of course, normally you would actually have to go ahead and grab that information, not just pass a string. Maybe you want to pass if this was a new user, a user that may have just signed up, and maybe this is going to be false. Essentially, it is you as a developer or as a team of developers who have to figure out what to pass in here. Maybe you want to know whether the location has been received or whether the Wi-Fi was on or off, whether they were on cellular or Wi-Fi. It would really depend on the application that you're using. In here that we are simulating an application that tracks new books or read books. And in this method in particular that we are simulating a login, maybe knowing if this is a new user or not is useful. Whether they had a strong signal or not may also be useful. Again, maybe knowing if they were on Wi-Fi can also be useful. Maybe this will allow us to know that the application is only crashing when they are on cellular or only crashing when they are on Wi-Fi. So information that may throw a little bit more light into this particular error to figure out as developers what may be wrong, what may be happening. So of course in here this is a dictionary, you can pass as many properties as you want. Eventually these can be passed to the track error method. So I will pass the key value pairs. And of course, our track error method is already passing those properties to the crashes class track error method. So let's test this again. Remember that this is happening from the click of the login button, and currently it is always happening because we are always throwing this exception. So let's run this again on our simulator and click that login button to see how this is being reported to App Center. So here is the app up and running. I am going to navigate first to login page to click this login button. Again, apparently nothing is happening. Maybe on a real-world application you may want to show an alert to your user here from the catch part of the try-catch block. But for now we know that this should have been reported to App Center now with these properties. So let's navigate over to App Center, again to the Android application, and to the Diagnostics tab. In here, just as we saw happen with these crashes, it may take a few minutes for those errors to appear. So let's give App Center a few minutes and check again if that has been already reported. And indeed, you can see that now I see this element in here. It's the same type of error that we saw before. After all, it is the exact same exception, the one that is being thrown, but we now see that the count is 3 and the last report was just 1 minute ago. So it probably refers to the one that I have just tested. But if I click on this one and navigate over to reports, I of course now see this third report, the one that has just happened. If I click on this report, I am going to see those error properties down here. Here is where you would see all of the properties that you add. Notice the difference between these two first reports that didn't have any properties and this last report that does contain them. Here you will see all of the properties that you add exactly in this format. Wi-Fi, it says it was on. New users, it says it wasn't a new user. Signal, it was strong. So with this information, with all of those properties that you're already sending, as a developer, you can have a bit more context about in which scenario was this error generated. So now you know probably that the error is only happening on Wi-Fi, it isn't happening on cellular, or is only happening to new users or something like that. So again, it will be up to you or to your team to decide exactly what properties you need, what properties will give you a better context. So this is how you track those properties and how you're going to find them over here on App Center. In the next lecture, we're going to be tracking more analytics. We already know that some analytics are being tracked, but we are going to learn to track more. And it's going to be very similar to how we are tracking errors, and we are actually also going to be able to pass some properties, but we're going to see that in more detail in the next lecture.